This will be New Gettysburg with a TvZ with a classically interesting T involved. This will be... I'm looking forward to this game, actually. We'll see how this plays out. But to start off, spawning in the bottom left side of the map, we have none other than the Green Terran player, Lillekanin.
In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he is hinO.
Alright, so hinO is actually a player we've seen in various Corsair Cups amongst other weeklies. Obviously, most players will show up to these qualifiers, and if you look at the size of the brackets, there's just an insanely large amount of participation that comes from Europe. That being said, these guys will not have super crazy amounts of games to go through, as they only have to get to the round of 8 today to qualify through. So they don't actually play any matches in the round of 8. The round of 16 will be the finals of the tournament, and those will be best of 5s. This and the matches leading up to it will be best of 3s.
Yeah. I mean, say what you want about the start of this and the start of many other qualifiers. The actual format is probably the best it has been. I mean, they get 2 chances on 2 different days, and then like their final chance, I suppose, really on Saturday. Where I know a lot of the complaints from earlier years were like you literally had to qualify on like one day, even if like 16 people got through or whatever. So it was like one day.
Yeah.
And yeah, players don't really like that because they could have a bad day.
The way of spreading it out over 3 days too is kind of nice, because it is one of these things where you have like if you did a double elimination bracket, it would drag on forever and be tiresome, and players at the end of it would be exhausted, and those with a bad day would be pissed off. This kind of gives you that same quality of a bracket. You know, both of these leading to that final top 16, or excuse me, top 8. No, yeah, top 16. And then each of these qualifiers serves as like a second part of the what would be a double elimination bracket in the grand scheme of things, but doesn't end up killing the player's stamina.
Yeah, stamina and just there's 2 things that affect that, right? Well, 3 things: stamina, and then potential seeding. Like, not terrible seeding like we had today, but just like, oh, coincidentally I had to face Bunny in the round of 16, right? And just having an off day. So in all that regard, I think that, this is better. I think it's give props a little bit to the current WCS system, where you do have a lot of opportunities to get to that tournament. And then, of course, if you have a team, maybe you're actually still flown out, even if you don't get through the qualifiers.
Game paused.
Oh no.
Well, at the moment, I guess Lillekanin having a little bit of computer hardware issues. Hopefully nothing super serious.
Yeah.
Definitely not a good start to the day. Oh my gosh. Is that a new subscriber?
Oh my god. Wait.
No way. Hang on. Gotta rub my eyes. Yes. Oh my gosh. It is. Seb Lecoq. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel.
Look.
Lecoq.
Look.
Let's see here. That's 982 subscribers. So still on that climb back up to 1,000. But 18 is totally doable.
Cool.
So if you guys enjoy the show over the next week, day, 2 day, consider subscribing to the channel. It's a good way to support what we do, and of course that's how you can get access to the VODs real quick. But our YouTube channel has them up pretty fast as well. youtube.com/BaseTradeTV. Check out all the things you've missed in the last week over there. Shout out as well to Blasted101 for hitting us up with an 18-month resub, and yay, now we don't have to fill downtime as the game continues.
Woohoo!
Although,
Yeah.
with this map and this match, we may still have to fill a little bit of downtime.
Yeah, probably, actually.
Now, what I'm curious about is we did get the, I'm going to say pleasure, of watching you thermo play mech recently, right? That was cool. It showed us at a higher end what top tier Terran in Europe can do. Lillekanin, well, he's more like closer to mid to top tier than necessarily top tier Terran. He's a player who has won games that he shouldn't have won in the past thanks to his style of play. Whether it's with mech, whether it's with just straight to air, whether it's Hyperflight Rotor Banshees. I like watching this guy play because he doesn't stick to just the normal, while at the same time he can still play Marines, tanks, you name it.
Yeah. Well, I hope hinO knows that. I think most European players at least do. Some Korean players, they don't know Lillekanin. And that's another issue. And I guess even some North American players, but Europeans usually by and far know what's up. So hinO, I mean, I think already getting like this kind of like cautionary roach warren He saw like an odd number of Marines so early on, right? And no Reaper. So you gotta be a little worried about this early aggression. The build ends up being, I thought maybe it was gonna be double Liberator, and he might follow up if he had the gas. I don't know if he will. But it is actually double Medevac first with just, you know, non-stim, non-combat shield Marines.
The double medevac is a brand new necessity because unfortunately, as we've seen, the +1 range from Queens has proven to be quite brutal, and you can't really get away with one medevac anymore. Now, whether that's balanced or imbalanced, that's pretty subjective. I'm personally just not a fan of the necessity to have 2 medevacs, but it looks like he is going to send these out. I thought they'd come together, but he's actually going to split one in the main, one in the third, maybe? I don't know about this.
Yeah, especially since these are not upgraded Marines, they really aren't going to do so well apart from each other. The follow-up is double Liberator. Go me. Unfortunately, I guess if he doesn't get any damage done to the Queens, then, you know, Liberators are still probably going to get sent back pretty easily, but
hinO
first,
already
Queen?
kind of makes a mistake in not focusing down the medevac with the Queens.
Yeah, a little bit. He did take all of his army to that main base, but the attacks weren't really right at the same time, so hinO does have at least some units coming over here. It only has one drone over anyway, but this looks like it's going to be held. I mean, the Roachborn is helping. You know, there's not as much of a chance as them getting into a mineral line and massling up being able to take care of it. But honestly, I don't think you need the Roaches for this. Just good focus fire with the Queens. But the follow-up is, of course, I think what's always scarier. Oh my goodness.
Man.
Was what's scarier, you know? Like, you're dealing with this, and maybe you're dealing with it perfectly fine, but, like, you're not thinking about checking what's coming after. So, not only the Liberators, which probably won't do that much damage, but the mech, of course, because it's Lillekanin.
Yeah, double factories coming behind this will be kind of interesting to see. Now, I thought that other medevac was going to drop somewhere. It hasn't gone off just yet. There we go, back in the main, but caught by the Lings. Liberator does take out 2 of the Queens before going down. Not bad. That medevac's a little bit too low to really get anything done, so it might just be better off going home.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if he's going into mech, right? So, like, you could argue that medevac speed aren't the most important thing, but I don't know. Like, Hellbat drops could still happen in the future, and if these Marines survive with the medevac, then that still is just a little bit extra to have on the map, where that could be a problem with mech, is not having a lot of map control. Again, hinO still hasn't kind of bothered to scout. He might just be also, like, hard countering Lillekanin, right?
Yeah,
but
if you know, like, I mean, hinO, if he knows what Lillekanin
he knows. Oh my god, I get it.
Oh, well, that was actually a pun, but there we go. Not an on-purpose one. I do want to point out this upgrade we have coming, though. This is going to be kind of important, as if you've been a fan of Nathanius... Okay, that got shut down hard. If you've been a fan of Nathanius, you've seen the rise in the potential power that Cyclones bring. And I want to really stress 2 points here. One, they fixed the Cyclone cooldown recently, which is nice. Now they're a little bit more usable than before. Secondly, god damn it, Blue Flame Hellion and Cyclone, while a lot more fragile than the beta version of them, is still incredibly strong. And for those who don't know what Magfield Accelerator is and why I'm getting excited about this, it's an upgrade to the Cyclone lock-on ability that literally doubles its damage versus armored.
Yeah. Excuse me. What I was going to say is that, you know, it is important for hinO to scout what type of mech it is.
Yeah.
Again, excuse me. But, like, and there were 3 options. There's, like, the very standard mech in Heart of the Swarm, which some people still bust out, and kind of like an earlier attack going, so hopefully it catches third player off guard. There's the mass air, you know, double starport, triple starport really early, which Lillekanin certainly can do. And then there's, yeah, the Cyclone one. So it's still important to scout and know exactly what you want to do with your army. I think the army composition is probably very similar. Roach, Hydra, Hive Tech is probably always going to be the best, but it's still something I think more mental to be prepared against. You know, what if you have less Hydras or no Hydras at all, actually, and you get just completely blindsided by triple port Banshee or something like that?
I mean, again, the player at hand would be the kind of player to do that.
Yeah, that isn't a random, you know, throwaway build I just used. That is actually something that Lillekanin does kind of commonly, actually. So it does seem to be lately, though, between the starports or the Cyclones for Lillekanin. He hasn't done, like, those earlier standard Hellbat mech pushes, I think, in a while.
Well, yeah, that's true. Just side note to this, guys. We do have a giveaway going with one of our mutual sponsors of the DreamHack, as DreamHack's also sponsored by G2A. You can check out the BaseTradeTV Twitter if you'd like to enter. Get some free gift cards.
Cool.
Drones get fried up, though, by the Hellions, and while they don't have a lot of staying power, it's still very important that Lillekanin doesn't just play super passive at home. The worst thing you can really do is let a Zerg player get quick to Hive, get quick to Spire while you're playing slowly from Mech. Again, Blue Flame going to burst up some of the Lings. It's not going to really touch the Roaches, but the big thing is this keeps hinO very, very aware that he can't just drone. Hellions are going to get caught, so these are kind of done. They didn't treat it too badly. We've got Infestors coming up next, and of course, I think the creep spread actually looks fantastic. Do you realize how quickly this has gotten out there?
Yeah, it's looking okay, I would say. It's one creep tumor.
Yeah, well, I was thinking he's going to be spreading this one too. He'll connect all the bases. He'll have a solid 4 instead of just going straight up here. But this location is going to be a little bit harder to defend. It gives Lillekanin 3 different opportunities, 3 different angles to attack from.
I did wonder about this location as his 4th, but oh well. Could easily take care of this, but it's just really focused on getting that Zelnaga.
Yeah, like those Ravagers, 3 of them should be just corrosive biling this and making this laughable. Get some kills though, so Worker killed Tab up to 15 now, not bad. Gonna try and get the Queen, maybe a little bit of Larva, realizing Ravagers are here.
Woo!
Oh, the Fungal misses!
It still is a pretty useless Liberator. Really, killing any drones at all was a bit of a mistake from hinO. So, that Liberator, as low as it is, Queen can easily pop that off, so the game continues. But hinO, I mean, the longer he is not pushing, the better chances Lillekanin's army has of actually being not unbeatable, but very, very good, shall we say. He's getting upgrades for it, although he is behind still. hinO has got 2-2 already on the way. But he does have that like nice count of Cyclones that are fixed. He's getting to his tanks now. And eventually hinO is going to have to just receive a push. And I don't know, we've seen people mess up versus Mech actually pretty commonly. It's almost like some Zergs have forgotten how to deal with Mech when it comes to direct engagements. I don't know where hinO is at.
2 kind of important things just happened there. First off, Liberator, once he gets in, gets some damage, whatever. But the Hellions, upon dying, saw Vipers. Now, I don't believe Lillekanin actually scouted the main to see Hive Tech. In fact, he did not. So, now fully aware of where the game's at, instead of thinking, okay, maybe it's later, maybe I got some time. This is important because right now, I would say he really needs to get maybe a couple of medevacs out to shuffle those tanks around. I really like the turret wall that's coming down. This will help zone out said Vipers, but of course won't stop them directly.
I like this wall. I mean, he actually, I think, could have literally walled.
Well, literally walling or not, this is actually really good for trying to catch the Hellions. If you've played Mech before, then you all know that sweet, sweet feeling that comes from catching someone off guard with a Hellion run by. And with the army poised up here to the north, and there's a little bit of a wall off down here to the south, and there we go, there's a more dedicated wall. There shouldn't be that many Hellion run-bys to get that damage done.
Yeah, potential only downside to New Gettysburg for Mech.
There is a lot of Cyclones, and this is a much more mobile Mech army than many of you are going to be used to being seen. You know, a couple of tanks here and there don't really count on Siege, but massive amounts of Cyclones are going to be really good for damage, but really bad if they get fungal, because they don't have a lot of life. Their durability's not there. But anything they lock onto is pretty much guaranteed to die. There's that first fungal, though, hitting 4 of the Cyclones. Very expensive units. Vipers coming in looking for blinding clouds on top of the tanks, of ducks on top of the Liberators, but the Cyclones have got a lot of lock-ons flying, and right now hinO's army is dying about just as fast as Lillekanin's.
Those Hellbats really did over some of the Cyclones.
They did. It was a little bit awkward to watch, but overall the Cyclone's not performing too poorly. Problem is, Lillekanin runs out of units really, really fast.
Yeah, well, he started his transition to mass starports, I think, a little bit too early.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's painful to look at that army supply right now. 36 to 121.
It really quickly went downhill, and I do want to blame the starport transition. That's at least like 4 other big units for Cyclones, 4 tanks, you know, whatever. A bit of miscontrol, and probably a bit of overconfidence in the missile turrets killing those Vipers, because the blinding clouds did come down when I think, like, ideally they never do. You know, the Vikings and the missile turrets. Well, you always snipe them.
The problem behind this too was, I had mentioned that metaphor for just a moment, like this blinding clouds completely destroyed not just the tanks, but a majority of the units that were getting stuck behind things. Like, okay, he cleans this up, and you're like, oh great, this can easily take on those 4 units. But there's actually 19 Hydras that were made behind this, so it's more than just what we see initially. Now, the Command Center did live. He can drop some mules, transfer some units over. Maybe it won't be too bad at the end of the day. Quick shoutouts to Baker Street 2458, 2 years with a 24-month resub. Says feel old, man.
2 years, actually. Not meme.
Yeah, feels good.
Pretty long.
Like, it might not mean a lot to you guys, and I know resubbing has a lot less hype than new subbing, but seeing somebody sub for that long feels good for us, like, really.
Yeah. Well, Lillekanin has another Cyclone army. That's great. That's actually, I mean, really, it can be great, like, not sarcastic, but it's still not very, it's not the biggest army. It's getting there, though, again. What
I had liked about this sort of Remax and Cyclones was that his opponents, he didn't have that many Infestors. Now they do. 4 Infestors just got made, more Vipers are back out. So the caster units are really what's going to give him an edge. What shut down the Cyclones wasn't the sheer force and raw magnitude of an attack, it was the fungal growth holding them all in place.
Yeah, that really helped. Misses that fungal, starts abducting the Liberators, not a bad idea at all. But the Cyclones, get out of that blinding cloud. Should be able to take down quite a few more units before everything is said and done.
He's running out of places to kite though. Abduct's going off.
He gets the okay. Well, I guess the Vipers don't have energy anymore, but they did their job for sure. The third base isn't really under attack. I thought actually more went over there, but I guess not. And he could probably hold on a ramp, especially if he had any more tanks. But
setting up.
He doesn't have enough tanks. GG.
hinO gonna take game number 1. He had the right response to this too. I want to point that out. What Lillekanin did can look broken against more average and more common Zerg builds, but hinO didn't do a common Zerg build. He did a I need to deal with a mech build, which is really, really important and really well executed. But game 1 out of 3, best of 3 to kick off the day.
What? Bracket changed for being final? Hope not.
After games started? Is that for real?
Well, that's what I just read in the chat. I don't know.
I mean, Stasia confirmed twice that players could start playing, so that would be quite terrible if that's
If you were in a tournament game because the bracket bug, you are not out, of course. I don't know what this is all about.
I mean, some people have already finished their matches, though, so I don't think there's any changes. A lot of people have advanced on in the brackets, actually.
There's been some... Yeah. Some people are missing scores, but yeah, okay. Next map is Frost. I'll make.
Okay. Well, while we have like all these asterisks, just again, really good players: Mana, Bunny, Euthermal, Wellmu. A lot of the guys you want to see, you as in the fans, we want to see as well. But they don't have opponents in that first round, so casting this first best of 3. Trying to see who has the best looking round 2 matchup. Maybe we can poke him to hold a game or something. But honestly, not a lot of this is going to heat up till probably round 3.
Yeah, which is like...
I mean, you have Firecake Daishi possibly lined up for round 3. That's actually probably one of the better matchups.
Yeah. Round 4, like the one right after that, is the qualifying match. So that's why this might not be the longest cast. So actually see what the bracket lines up, basically.
Oh, I figured it out. The reason they take so long to start each qualifier is because they know the cast won't be that long.
So they give us an extra 30 minutes to play ads to bored viewers. I get it. I see.
Yeah, there you go. Gotta make that money, right? All right, we are hopping into Frost for game number 2. Lillekanin's decision to play Cyclones could actually work out, I'd say, even better here than New Gettysburg, should he go that direction. But with how hard he just got shut down, I don't imagine he'll be doing it again. But here we are, spawning the bottom left side of Frost. He's green, he's Terran, he's down 1 game. It's Lillekanin.
In the top left as the red Zerg, he is hinO.
Okay, so for Lillekanin, I think this is for us, not just because he's a favorite player of our own, but after watching that first game, clearly the underdog. The question now becomes kind of like, can he adjust? You know, you come into matches where you know how Lillekanin plays, and you ask, can the Zerg player handle Lillekanin? And hinO just showed us yes. Yes, he can. So now the question goes to, what will Lillekanin do in response? How will he react? How will he change?
It really is a question, I think, for us when we watch Lillekanin, and an opponent that we aren't really sure of. Like, I think we've seen hinO, like, on the bracket, right? But it's never been, like, our go-to cast. It's just, like, can they... Do they crumble under different styles? And if the answer is no, then it's usually like, okay, Lillekanin, you might be screwed, buddy. Unfortunately, it does seem to be the go. I mean, Lillekanin's had like good runs, you know, he got in like the Ting Open and whatnot, and that was like really cool to see.
Yeah.
But he is still, you know, while I think his macro and his micro have all improved since we've, you know, the very first time we cast this guy and we're like, oh my god, his builds are so crazy. He still does rely a bit on, you know, the absurdity of some of his builds, and especially, you know, if the Zerg player knows what to do, then it can be very hard to make them work.
So got another bit of a pause. So Lillekanin's having all kinds of trouble today. I'm gonna quickly do something. I have to ask you a question.
Okay.
Are you feeling slightly warm or slightly cold?
I'm feeling okay right now.
Oh, I just asked because I've noticed you've taken half of your shirt off again.
Yeah, because that's the perfect temperature.
Okay, this is where I now ask the audience. I gotta remove your camera. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, are you as a viewer the type of person to go full, all sweater on or all sweater off? Or do you do this half and half and somehow manage to say, you know what, now this is fine? Because it just seems so weird. To me, it would be like, well, now half of me's okay, but half of me's still too warm.
We talked about this. It's like putting your leg out when you're sleeping from underneath the covers. It's like perfect.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. This is one thing about you. You know, you can do that gross thing where you stick your food out of your mouth and like, yeah. Be disgusting. You can burp. You can do all the farts in the world. I'm not going to find any of that weird or even question it. Oh, you fart.
No, I don't.
But this half on, half sweater thing, it bothers me on like a logic level. Is why I can't get behind it.
You're just hating.
I am. I'm hating because I'm so frustrated.
It's such a good, like, okay, eventually I'm going to feel maybe still a bit warm. I'm going to take off the other sleeve. And if I was wearing socks, I'd take off one sock. I'm not, though. Barefoot.
I think I just had a stroke. Does anyone smell burnt toast?
God, why do you hate me so much?
Well, moving on, and I'm gonna just, I've actually covered up your camera now because I can't look at you.
Oh, shut up.
The opener out of Lillekanin is going to consist of Hellions, once again, by the looks of it. This isn't... if this is going back to like old school Hellion Banshee, I like that. I think it's cool. The problem is, the effectiveness of it is still really questionable due to, once again, Queen's range reaching those Banshees from so far away. The Hellions may or may not be a problem. As we see the Roach Wardens on the way, I can't imagine they're going to get too out of hand. The question for me really comes down to that Banshee, which... again, he might not even do, because this could be for like faster liberators or something. I don't know. It is just most likely going to be a Banshee.
Yeah, he's not producing for the barracks.
The liberation zone potential on this map is fairly limited to... Oh, hey.
Oh, well, I guess he loses. That's fine.
This is not a command center, though, Savio.
It is in a command center location, though.
It is, but it's a starport.
Is it the same, like, you know, idea? Is it because it's hidden?
I had to do a double take at the production tab. I was like, wait, why is the command center not showing up in the production tab? But okay, 2 starports, Banshees, and what my fingers crossed is hoping to God will be Hyperflight Rotors. Because while you might have range on Queens, it's not going to matter if you can't catch the units you're trying to hit. Yeah. So for Lillekanin, maybe this just ends up being another Liberator. Maybe it ends up being a Tech Lab. Looks like it will be a Liberator for the time being. But either way, this is interesting because everything hinO scouts looks like a fairly regular opening. There really isn't a lot of red flags back on the Lillekanin side of the map. He's not really that much of a macro player in the first place, so to not see a third CC is not really alarming. Knowing that it's a Banshee as well, you see the timing, you're going to guess that it's Cloak. But no Sport Crawlers coming down. So this is kind of funny. Like, we see hinO respond so greatly to a weird build out of Lillekanin, but so awkwardly to a normal one.
Yeah, well, now their Sport Crawlers are here. And...
yeah.
push shouldn't really. Once you see a Banshee, I mean, it's pretty much news that you can't really push unless you have like massive rolling numbers. So it's surprising, but you know, I'd say just like start like running the roaches around. Maybe that's where we're going to finish.
This is not California. I don't need a two-party consent law to put your camera up on the stream.
That was not cool, bro. You don't know what I do during a cast.
I mean, okay, now he's gonna lose the game, by the way.
Okay, there you go. That's confirmed.
The reason we say this is not because of the Banshees or the second starport even. It's just, man, proxy or hidden command centers just never work. Forgot about the really fast route time and the spore crawler being changed. So that's going to be a little bit of a pain for everything. Shuffle around, but the Banshees have gotten a couple of kills. The Liberator's top of the larva. Queen's been softened up. This is not really getting a lot of damage done for Lillekanin, and diving in to kill a Queen for a Banshee is not worth that trade. Also, I feel like this really went overboard with trying to stop Liberators. Oh, hinO just scouted the top right, by the way. But the Queen buff was, I think, enough. I don't know that the Spore Crawler buff was a necessity at the same time. And the fact that they really laid it on thick with both have shut down Lillekanin's potential to do anything here.
Yeah. I really wonder what would make this work.
It wouldn't. Revert the Queen change. There you go.
Even without a quick change, you know, because like you're already responding to one thing, and unless it's like mass Banshee, which he could have gone for, now he is going for multiple Banshees. A Spore Crawler will take care of you know, half Banshee, half Liberator pretty damn well. So
like a werewolf?
That's not half and half.
Is it a werewolf? Is like half human, half wolf. That's the point of it being a werewolf.
No, you change fully into a. Well, I guess you don't. It's part. We say half. I think I'm a mermaid.
Top half werewolf, bottom half human.
Top half wolf, bottom half human.
Okay, so this Banshee is gonna get picked off. The Helling should be able to keep the starport alive, actually. So never mind. Put an asterisk on that. Command center transfers over, and I'm surprised he's still gonna dedicate to this, but I guess he did spend the money on it. Banshee attacking the 4th base up here. The Helling's gonna be joining in on that soon. But now we see a problem with the mutas. Really good anti-air response, and there's not really Liberator production coming into play.
Yeah.
Lillekanin might die to this game because right now he has no anti-air that I can see, not even missile turrets.
This was certainly not a surprise enough to warrant the build.
Ooh, and this gets blocked out too. He's going for Cyclones, and in fairness, Cyclones are not bad, but it's such a high amount of mutas and such a low count of Cyclones. I don't
Oh my god, I don't even know. Yeah, Cyclones, they shoot air, alright? You gotta give them that. But
Cyclones just shoot up.
They do.
Yeah, they do. I guess.
Great. Wasn't there a patch where they didn't one time though?
Yes, and that's when I beat MMA.
Oh, the 1v1.
Yeah. There's still story. Nobody believes me when I tell that story.
Man.
But for those, because I guess the NDA is probably expired by now. When we went to the first community summit, I 1v1'd MMA, and he saw that I was going battle cruisers just to be a shitbag joker. And he went Mass Cyclone as a response, not realizing it was the patch of the Legacy of the Void beta where Cyclones couldn't shoot up without an upgrade. So I beat MMA in a 1v1, and it felt good, man. I will never forget that.
You know, I think Fear Dragon beat a pro gamer. Oh no, wait a minute. Fear Dragon lost to Scarlet when she played with one hand. Aw, shit.
That's not okay. That's not your story to tell.
Guys, ask him later about his summit experience.
Yeah, for those of you tuned in for the North American broadcast later today. Yep. All right, the command center goes down. Really unfortunate, but kind of to be expected. I'm a little bit surprised that Lillekanin actually isn't dead, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but I really thought the mutas were going to catch him at a timing where, you know, one Cyclone wasn't going to be enough to stop it, but now he's got plenty, and the mutas won't be the problem. It will be the main army, which it should still be good enough to beat Lillekanin's, but the main army is not really that anti-air equipped, so those 3 Banshees that lived from earlier might not be too bad as long as the mutas don't pick them off.
There still is a game going, but it's really hard to feel like Lillekanin has a real shot here. I mean, the mutas, maybe they get cleaned up, right? Like, maybe Cyclones are clueless.
Oh,
like
Krieg has him for Terran! Liberator! Okay, well.
You should have just tried to attack while I could. But anyway. Like, the point is, like, the transition's already coming, though. So, like, while the mutas, you know, they could have been over-invested into, and he's like, oh, shit, cyclones are actually really good. They weren't. Roach, Hydra, upgrades, investors, Hive on the way. He's missing Vipers, and maybe if Lillekanin had a maxed out army, he'd be like, this is my time to shine, but he's still only at 150.
Yeah. The other part of this too, well, okay, the rest of the music is going to get shreked on the retreat, but I was going to mention we got the Infestors coming out again, and Lillekanin's greatest asset is his ability to kite. The second he loses that and he's forced to stand still to the fungal growth, that's when the Infestors really, really shine through. But you got to consider, what is this? Okay, 11 Cyclones in play. They could potentially take out half the Roaches without taking any damage. If done correctly, then the Mutas and the Hydras and the Ravagers left over aren't really a threat. So it's kind of crazy to consider, but as I mentioned once we got into this game, Frost may be a better map for kiting and using Cyclones on than New Gettysburg. I don't know. It's still going to come down a lot to how Lillekanin actually uses the units. The Widow Mines I find really interesting, and he is going to go back to that Starport production, but I feel like we're hitting the same timings where last game, you know, he didn't lose a command center, goes for the same Starport reach out, dies to the push.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's going to be some serious deja vu in a second. But we still have to wait for hinO's Vipers. That is a difference to this game, is that his Vipers weren't super fast. So he doesn't have this push before Lillekanin is maxed out, where if he has to wait for the Vipers, they're coming out now, and the energy, they might have like 190.
I don't know how important the Vipers is going to be this time around, though, because I do want to note Lillekanin did not go that many tanks. He's got like this single tank in play.
I think it is just going to be about that combo. I mean, it is going to be first and foremost about getting that fungal. The Cyclones can't kite. But if Lillekanin is staying at home, that's where Blinding Clouds do look good, because you do sort of run out of area for the Cyclones to maneuver. I mean, back when mass Cyclones were the way to go, back in Legacy of the Void Beta, if you were actually pretty defensive with them, they didn't look as powerful. But if you roamed the map, they were stupid, because you just kite all day and back home, and then you'd be safe. So we'll see what this looks like. Upgrades are finishing up. I mean, hinO really does actually have a really nice time here, but it looks like he's not going to go for the push. Going to go for Brute Lords.
And Ultras. And I think he's just being prepared for everything that he can get prepared for.
Yeah. The Ace retweets, they're coming out, man. Poor Fear Dragon.
Ravi Thumb.
Ravi Tears.
Alright, so I actually really like the static defense coming down out of hinO. Again, it's Blue Flame Hellions running around the sides of the map that are usually the most dangerous thing to a Zerg player when it comes late mech and anything close to Turtle. But as we can see, that's not really the focus of things. I'm also really curious as to the investment in Widow Mines. I don't think Widow Mines are necessarily bad. If you can get the right hits with them, they can be fantastic, but it's just so strange and not intuitive for an army that kites around like this many Cyclones to have things like Widow Mines. The Engineering Babe locked in here is fantastic. Kind of skewed the AI of the Roaches for those who noticed for that one small moment. Liberation Zones and these Widow Mines actually are going to be great for zoning side. If the Vipers try and come in, they should get picked off.
Oh, whoops. Oh, no, he's A moving. Ah!
Overseer's
to scout them.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we actually want to try and focus that down or not. Cyclones, please! What are you doing? Everyone's just running into the Fungals, having a party. But the Fungal growth's mostly gone. Means these Liberators gonna siege up. The Cyclones uncontested to run through this and around this.
Fungal!
Lock on will shoot through a blinding cloud for those who don't know.
Yeah, the Fungal could have been there, though.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Tanks also dealing with most of what's left. 4 tanks. Taking out a lot of this army. Cyclone's got lock-on coming off cooldown, looking for another reach, grabs those Hydras, and he actually deals with his first army. But I do want to point out the overall supply and the difference in remaxing when it comes to this sort of composition. There's 24 Roaches and 10 Hydras in the production tab compared to 4 Cyclones and 2 Hellions. It's not that impressive.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, it's kind of what I expected to happen. Again, maybe if Lillekanin's out in the middle of the map, the blinding clouds aren't, they don't affect him at all, right? Like, the spell goes through it, but the actual, like, base attack doesn't, so they're not affected at all, and they start kiting. Maybe he takes a better fight, but defensively, he gets trapped in his own base, has to protect his own base, and those Fungals should have, like, obliterated Lillekanin, actually.
So I agree. That should have been game over had that been executed better out of hinO. But right now, he's still doing small things like with the Roach Harass. The Lillekanin's money is certainly non-existent, so any denied mining is pretty massive.
Yeah.
Took a long time to clean up 2 roaches. Imagine what it's going to take to clean up 24.
3-3 is gonna be finished for this push. And he's a-going for it. Lillekanin, my man.
I'm almost wondering if it wouldn't be better to have more tanks. But I guess with the Vipers, it's still a big problem either way. Sieging up the Liberators isn't going to work either. 2 Cyclones heading northwards. Not a lot they can do with the amount of defense set up over here. Grab a couple of the roaches and this will die quickly. Back on the other side of the map, no fungal growth's going off yet, but the lock-on now on cooldown for most of these. Gets one of the roaches. Grabs the kill there. I think one of the problems we're seeing too with Lillekanin, he does appear to have everything in one hotkey, which could be a bit of an issue, as the Vikings really need to be dancing separately than the Cyclones.
Ooh.
Does take care of most of the Vipers, but unfortunately the fungal growths go down, the army gets locked in place, and Lillekanin
GG.
tap out. GG. Congrats to hinO. He'll take a 2-0 and advance on in the brackets. But for us, now we must find out what match we cast next. So we're going to go to a commercial break, and when we return, hopefully we'll find a game. It looks like, though, Marine Lord and Bly shaping up to fight each other might be one of the better ones. That or Daishi versus Firecake. Either way, we'll see you guys soon.